In this lesson, we will use the logger utility to assess organizational security. We are in the logger portion of the video series. This lesson is part of a video series that prepares you for the hands-on portion of the CompTIA Security Plus exam and is designed to give you hands-on experience with the operations and incident response section of the exam. So what is the logger command? The logger command is a utility that writes messages to the system log. Any user or process with appropriate permissions can use logger to log messages. It is used whenever there is a need to record events, errors, or custom messages in the system logs. The messages are logged to the system log file, typically located at varlog syslog or varlog messages, depending on the Linux distribution. In our class, we're using Debian, so it's going to be in the varlog syslog. It helps in monitoring, debugging, and maintaining a record of events for system administration or troubleshooting. And you can run it by running the logger command followed by the message or options. The rest of the how is what this video is all about, so let's get into it. To get started, grab the companion guide from the link in the show notes below. Also, if you like this content, please make sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any new videos. So we have our companion guide logger and we have Ubuntu Debian on the right, so let's get started. So for starters, I'm going to bring this up here and just real briefly, we'll talk about this when we get into more deeper topics like security, information, and event management systems. But for starters, we have something called syslog. It's a log system that's going to log system and application events so we know what's happening on our systems, and then we can have other external systems send their logs over to us also. So to do that, I'm just going to right click here, open in terminal. We know there's a variety of ways to get into the terminal. I'm going to maximize that, and typically just for viewing purposes, I'm going to get this up to a slightly larger size. So the first thing I want to do, like with anything, is to make sure I have the status is running. So I want to know the status of our syslog. And I see that the system is running, active and running. This is good. You can do this with almost any command to see what the service is. So I'm going to just go ahead and quit out of this, Control Q to get out of this, Control Z in this case. It's going to be stopped. I'm going to clear the screen and I want to see where my syslog is kept. So it's cat, it's var /log and syslog. And we see it's some files here, right? So there's a lot going on here, and this is what we want to kind of get a better understanding on. So I want to get a better sense of how big this file is. So I just cleared the screen. I'm going to cat -n, and again varlog syslog, and I see it's pretty big, right? So it has 2,363 lines if I'm looking at it over here. So it's a fairly large file, and we want to get a sense of what that looks like. So I'm going to clear again, and this time we're going to use the tail command, which is why we were going in sequential, right? We went with tail, head, tail, grep, cat, so we can have all these tools in our toolbox. So I'm going to do syslog. In this case here, because it wants me to just get a piece of it, it's asking me for my sudo. So I'm going to put that in, and I don't think I did that properly. Let's just go ahead and just do tail var log syslog, and it's going to give me the last 10 items, and I see some activities happening here. So in this case, what I want to do is I'm going to put it into active mode. In other words, I want this to be a live stream, if you will. As entries are coming in and we're typing entries, we'll see them come in on the tail end of that log. And we're just hanging out here waiting for some kind of entry to be put into the syslog. So we have our environment set up. I'm going to set this up over here. And I have one more thing to do, which is I'm going to split my screen. So I'm going to put this over here and make this maybe about half the size of the screen, so we can see entries coming in, maybe a little bit more. As entries come in, we could see a little bit more. And I'm opening a new terminal right here so we can actually run our commands. So our terminal is going to be something like this. You can do it any way that you like. If you want it side by side, that's fine too. I just want it this way because it's a little bit more horizontally optimized on this screen. Once again, I'll come back here with ++ to make it a little bit bigger. I'll make sure we can see both screens at the same time. This is just another terminal window or another view. And my first entry is I'm going to put logger -T for a tag, and I'm going to put this entry into the log here, and what you're going to see is it's going to appear here. So I'm going to, in the terminal up here, I put the entry, and we see that we have put in an entry into the log. It says this is a tag, and it says this is a tagged log entry. So exactly what we saw here. We use logger with the -T for tag, and I called my tag a pen tag, and I put a log entry in, and it has a timestamp. It has the date and a timestamp of the log entry. Pretty easy, pretty simple stuff, right? I'll do this again with a slightly different one. This time I'm going to use the tag again, but I'm going to put a different entry in here. Excuse me. I'm going to put in the begin test pen test tag. And if you see here, I have begin pen test, right? So it's pretty easy to do that. Now, if you look at the entry here, I want to get the logged in user information. For example, I'm logged in as, if I do a who am I, you see I'm logged in as F. Marin. So I grab this line here. This is going to be the logger P, and we'll just parse this out so we can see it a little bit better. This is the logger. This time I want the user info, whoever's logged in, so we can put a tag right in here and see what that looks like. And I'm going to hit enter. And now we see that I have the logged in user. This is an info message from the user. This is the message I put in the quotes, and this is pulling my username from here. So we see how to do that as well. I can also get the process ID. So I can include a process ID if that's important to us. That may not be very helpful at this point here, but there may be times when we want to grab the ID, and you'll see what that looks like slightly differently. So I have the username and I have the ID, the unique identifier for this log entry. So if this is important to us, if we need to search by ID numbers, we can do that also. Once again, pretty straightforward, right? So let's see if there's a custom tag. This one is going to be in interactive mode. So in interactive mode, this is if we have multiple commands that are coming in. So if we have multiple commands coming in, I can do it like this, where now I'm in interactive mode and I can say hello. You see that hello command tag comes in here. I can do world. You see world comes in there. I'm doing great. And I can keep it in. It has a custom tag because we have it here. It has interactive mode, so that way I can still keep typing and putting entries into the log if I need to. If I want to get out of interactive mode, I can Control Z. It stops it, and now this is back to regular tail in a stream format, but now I have a regular command line interface, which I'm going to clear for a little bit. This other command here is we can log from a different IP address, right? So this is to a remote server. So let's just say that we wanted to log this command to our pfSense device. So we have another logger here. So this would be logging, and this would be the IP address. Most log entries are sitting on port 514. This may or may not accept it, but if we wanted to export this entry to another server, for example, our Kali Linux device, we may want to do that, or our pfSense device, we may want to do that as well. And it just goes ahead and sends that log entry to an external device. This is not the IP of this one here. If I wanted to know my IP address, I can just do a host name -I, and I see that I have the IP address of 10.0.2.15. This is an external device that's sitting on the gateway, and I could just log an entry to that remote unit. Okay, now I'm about to get to the part where I want to look at my end pen test. In other words, this beginning file was, we started a pen test, a penetration testing environment, and I wanted to put a tag of pen tag, and when I actually started beginning the pen test, as a marker for myself. So this was just generally a marker. So if I have a beginning pen test marker, I want to put a end test marker in here. So I'm going to go ahead and get this device in here, or this command, and I'm going to put an end test so that way I know what my opening bell looks like. It was at 21:57:03 and my closing bell was at 22:01:12 at the time of this recording. So if I want to, at a later point, I can go into the log and see when did I actually start pen testing or when did I actually close, and we can correlate these log entries. And then last but not least, we can grep the pen tag. So this is specifically the pen tag. I'm going to see where does pen tag appear in the syslog program, and then I have a nice little entry here of all the tags that I've just created. And I see I started a little bit earlier today at 5:41. This is the pen test. We did a couple of tests here, so I can see all of my tags in one clean, neat place. When I started the pen test, when I ended the pen test, started again, and that's one of the ways that you can use Logger. Now, as with all of the commands we've seen so far, this is just a brief summary. You can go into the man page. This is at a very high level, so we can always make this a little bit bigger so you can see what the log entries look like. So if we want to get some more information, we can just do logger tech help. Gives you some of the commands that you saw here. We played with a few. This is the commands process ID if we wanted to take a look at that. And if you want a more deeper look, I just cleared. I'm going to man logger and we get the manual page. Well, that's it. Once again, quick and dirty. Wanted to give you a quick highlight of what the logger command can do. This prepares us for log entries as we get prepared for the intermediate course as well as the advanced course, and we do log analysis. So I hope you enjoyed this course. Looking forward to seeing you at the next one.